Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I'm about a minute late. We'll see if anyone shows up here. If we get a nice, strong turnout, we'll have a stream today. Otherwise, I will opt out of streaming today. So we will see. Quick disclaimer. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Nothing I say is an admission of guilt. All opinions are my own. Nothing's affiliated with YouTube or Google. And yeah, I'm also not a medical professional. Nothing I say is health advice, nor am I a financial advisor. Nothing I say is a recommendation for an investment. Looks like we got 5 people here. Would anyone care to kick off a little chat? Seven people and no chatters. Or do I not have like a chat today? Did I accidentally turn off chat? Maybe there is no chat. Oh wait, there is a chat. There we go. Good to see you, Noi. Thank you for coming. I'm glad we're getting off to a good start. 7 people is not bad for the first 2 minutes. Big Handy, Queendom Come, Caroline. Good to see you all. Okay, so we got a good group. Cool. I wasn't even really expecting much, to be honest. I thought today might be a futile attempt, but it seems that we are doing something. Anyways. It's interesting. I haven't looked in the mirror or anything in so long. I forgot what I looked. So yeah, you guys, what's going on? I'm out here in Santa Cruz. Honestly, way cool spot. I haven't been out here since I was like a kid, and it's not helping my caffeine addiction because this is a weird like coffee town, I guess. I didn't realize it until I got here, but it seems like it's just like a very competitive coffee scene with like the roasteries out here. So that part has been a little bit trying, but in a good way. The beaches are also very nice. Some cool little, very good little coves, not incredibly habitated. It's fairly good in the habitation level, meaning low. And I think I'm gonna work my way south, but I could change my mind and might go north. I don't really know. Oh, thank you so much, Noi, for the donation. You guys, that reminds me, I've been trying to make it a point to throw that out there in the beginning. If you like these lives and interactions, it helps make it less strenuous on me to dedicate time to this project. If people are pitching in a little bit here and there, it's of course not necessary. I do this out of my want of service, but it does definitely make it easier if it's not a totally one-way street. But let's see. Aside from that, spiritually, I would say I've had a recent bout of progress. It was feeling a little bit quiet for a while. I thought maybe I was getting off track. But I've come to realize a couple things, one of which is something I suspected but now have confirmed. that solitude is a tremendous key to this path. And I'm not going to uninvitedly get really super deep into the neuroscience aspect of everything, but I've been also researching a bit there and comparing and contrasting different sensations and effects I've felt through meditation and different events that happen during my meditations. But I've been comparing those sensations to things that I've been learning regarding neuroscience, and suddenly a lot more makes sense. And a lot of this all ties back into the cerebellum, which I think we can all agree is a very interesting structure within the human body. And more so is I have identified the cerebellum as the key to the initial initiation of enlightenment. Not just based upon things that I've read, but through the sensations of my body, being that, as I've mentioned many times, I did feel a strong sensation start in the back of my head before it shot down my spine and then rose up the front half of my body and out my eyes, which now I've identified as possibly some kind of aroused state within the cerebellum, which, you know, I believe travels down the spine, up the vagus nerve, and then back into the optic thalamus, just exciting the entire nervous system simultaneously, which activates, in my theory, dormant neurons. And brings balance to your cognitive systems. More so, I've been experimenting with chanting, right? And not necessarily chanting like mantras or whatever, but I've been experimenting with something called Bija mantras. If I'm saying that right, I might not be saying that right, but like in yoga, they call them seed syllable or seed mantras. But in like Buddhism, they call them seed syllables. These are just like single syllable sounds, like Om, for example. And as I had mentioned previously in the past, you know, I have had little accuracy in my meditations. Like I'm able to get myself into some pretty ecstatic states and interesting places, but I never really knew where I was going to end up or what was going to happen. But recently I've been experimenting with a new chant, Loom, right? Which is supposed to activate the root chakra, right? And strangely enough, upon the very first time using it, I actually felt, not immediately, but maybe like a few hours later, I started feeling a really strong sensation in that area, which is also mirroring an experience I had prior to my enlightenment, where I felt something in that same area. And what I've noticed is that by just activating that root chakra, or that, you know, whatever you want to call it, that everything else becomes more alive and more easy to access. So it's a pretty interesting discovery, and I don't you know, and usually when it gets into like the more advanced stuff, I try to refrain from like sharing my experiments on here because I don't want to encourage people to do anything that's dangerous. Even though I don't mind myself experimenting with dangerous things, I don't want to encourage other people to do that. And but I don't mind sharing this because, you know, as far as whatever I have researched or what, you know, the gurus out there and the yogis are doing, this is where most people like kind of recommend that people start, right? With the chanting lum for 40 days or whatever. And it started working for me on the very first day. So I actually do invite you guys to experiment with that and tell me if you have any similar results. Keep in mind that they call them seed mantras. And I believe the reason why they're called seed mantras is because they don't take effect instantaneously, but rather you have to plant the seed and let it grow for a little while. But for me, it was like only a few hours before I started feeling the growth. So let me know. All right. So any questions, you guys? That was my my update in California. Just came from Tahoe. I'm in Santa Cruz, cruising either north or south, not sure yet. Hoping to reconnect with Declan here in a couple days. See if we can get some insight into the some knowledge from our 25-year Tibetan Buddhist meditator friend. And yeah, and then after that, I'm going to decide where to go. And we're still thinking about the Costa Rica thing, but the weather is quite nice here in California right now. And I imagine it's very rainy and hot in the tropics, so we're not rushing. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat. And if anyone's got some questions or comments or anything, we can do that. Big Hindi says north as in cities or states. Probably just north as in the direction. Kind of sticking to like Highway 1 mostly. Which usually, you know, I'm kind of like an I-5er normally. Normally I just do like I-5 and then like dip over to the coast. But, you know, being that I don't really have a destination and I'm not in a rush, I've been doing the 1. And the 1 is fucking awesome. Like, just fucking live here. Like, what else do you need? Anyways, okay, so Raphael's got a question. Does the brain create reality? Whenever my dopamine receptors become sensitive, crazy stuff happens that doesn't usually happen. Well, Raphael, I don't know if I'm even supposed to say this because I don't want to, like, you know, people tend to take things out of context and, you know, without like a full spectrum, or should I say a full palette, to create the picture. It's often muted and misunderstood, but there is no such thing as reality. um, see, that's the part that I was saying you need the whole full spectrum to understand. But everything is illusion. You know, the problem with that is that knowing that or even believing that doesn't actually help that much in perceiving it. But ultimately, if you just can grip on to the 3 truest words that you could ever speak, you know, and the only thing you could do furthermore than that is to just lose words altogether and not do words anymore. No, just let go of language altogether. But you know, if you're a normal person who can't just like stop talking, doesn't have a life that accommodates that, then you can grip onto the 3 words. And the 3 words are, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, just stop trying to know stuff. Stop trying to think stuff. Stop trying to, understand things. And just realize that you're living an illusion. This world's not real. That you existed way before this body existed. That you will continue to exist once this body stops existing. And that you are really doing whatever you're supposed to be doing innately. If you're meant to wake up and see the world for the illusion that it is, it's going to happen. You really can't stop it, and if you're not meant to wake up and this just isn't that time for you, then it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? But the beauty is that we live this over and over and over again. And just because it doesn't happen in this life doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. It absolutely will one day happen. But it will happen when your soul is mature enough to handle it. When your soul is mature enough to say, well, this is an illusion, but it's a damn fine illusion. And I'm in no rush to get away from it. When you realize that it's not this or that. It's not, oh, we have this experience as humans, or we go and be unlimited and godlike, right? Or angelic, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not this or that. The thing is that you are doing both right now. You know what I'm saying? It's just that you're not aware of it. You know what I'm saying? You're existing on multiple planes. And this body will come and go, but you are fixed. You haven't gone anywhere. You know what I'm saying? At a different level. In fact, you were existing in multiple places simultaneously the whole time. It's just that this version of you is not aware of the other versions of you. That doesn't mean that the other versions of you are not aware of this version of you. And the beauty is, it doesn't really take much to uncover it all. It just takes one thing that's very, very hard to do, and which you can't lie about, which you can't manipulate yourself about, which you can't manipulate God about. And that's what you know, what you believe. But believe is not enough. You got to know, right? The moment that you know that you exist somewhere else and here simultaneously, and that there's no real divide between the two other than your awareness, the moment you know that, the moment you become aware of that you actually do become aware of it, the other part no longer has any reason to hide. Do you see what I'm saying? Because that other part is protecting you and protecting this experience. But if you already know 100% without any shadow of a doubt, that other part of you knows that you know 100% with any shadow of a doubt. And it can't lie to you. You know what I'm saying? In the same way that you can look up and see the sky is blue. You know what I'm saying? And you could sit there and try to tell yourself the sky is purple. Right? You could be like, sky's purple, sky's purple, sky's purple, sky's purple. You could be staring at the sky. But it's not fucking purple. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's blue. And you're looking at it and it's blue. And just you saying that it's purple doesn't change anything. Right? You yourself inside, the voice in your head cannot be convinced that the sky is fucking purple. Because you know that it's blue. So you're not going to spend very much time sitting there going, the sky's purple, are you? No. You're not going to spend a lot of time saying the sky's purple. You're going to fucking say it one time and be like, this is ridiculous. The sky's not purple. It's fucking blue. And then you're going to stop lying to yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the same thing that's going on with you and your higher and your, I'm saying your 4D self, your 5D self, your 6D self, so on and so forth, all these different levels of you, you can't lie to them because they know going down, you don't know going up. But as soon as you do know going up, that which is above you, it doesn't lie to you anymore, because it's not going to sit there screaming at you, which is it, which is them, which is yourself, and telling you the sky's purple when you already know that it's blue. Do you know what I'm saying? And thank you so much, Anna, for the donation. I appreciate you. It really helps a lot. Caroline says, can you tell us more about the growth you experienced? More about the growth experience. It's just that the chant. I mean, it's just that to be able to like focus, to I'm just getting a better grip on my chakras. Basically, I can like kind of like activate stuff at will. This whole loom chant has been a big part of it, and I find that like, for me, and I don't know that it will operate for everyone like this. I think that possibly like the polarities kind of flip once you've already gone through your Kundalini awakening. Normally it's about waking up the root chakra, raising it up. But like for me, when I open my root chakra, it's kind of almost like a vacuum, and it like pulls down the energy from my upper chakras, and like once it hits the ground, like they all light up. You know what I mean? So that's been like a big part of the thing. But and I was going through like a lull for a little while, but I was also like around other people for a while. And even though it was spiritual people, it was a spiritual situation, and some areas I was growing, my meditation was getting distracted, but it came back strong. So I don't really know exactly how to say, what contributed to what there, but I'm just kind of at peace. You know what I'm saying? And I'm hoping that I'm getting closer to this like last stage. Not last stage, like there's ever a last stage, but but I mean to say that this Rudra Granthi, which is like a big phase in the process that, this is, the way the yogis look at it. I just don't feel myself like chasing. I'm not so much chasing so much anymore. Before I was like chasing all these highs, and like now I'm kind of pretty content with just refining my the sensations within my body. And there's also been mentally I've also come to the conclusion that this like, I mean, I really don't want to be an online spiritualist or whatever. But I definitely do think that there's some, I do want to build the tribe. I think that there's really some real action at like a modern Bedouin style tribe focused on spirituality. I just think that honestly is really a thing that can work. And after losing the van and everything, and having to like readapt my situation from basically total hopelessness, and it actually coming out in some ways much better than before, though I'm sure it doesn't look like I just realized that it's something that's like so much more obtainable than I thought it was for other people. I thought that, you know, maybe I was in like a unique situation where, you know, I was able to really dedicate this time and make these sacrifices to like allow all this to happen. And I thought maybe it was like out of reach for a lot of people, but honestly, after dealing with the whole van thing and trials and tribulations and, you know, so on and so forth, I honestly do think it's like obtainable for basically anybody. You know what I mean? In fact, like the biggest thing that would hold most people back from like absolute like rapid spiritual growth is it's really money, honestly. Not even money, but just like in general material things. Well, when you say the money's not a problem, it's great to have money in the bank, but um, in fact, I think that that's actually a very enlightening situation for people. But you have to be able to sacrifice all the material things and sacrifice all the um, unnecessary comforts and so on and so forth. But it's definitely obtainable. It's definitely obtainable. It's just that most people will convince themselves that they don't want to obtain it because obtaining it means getting rid of things. And the average person has been convinced that their success is based upon how much they can accumulate, right? But it's an interesting concept because accumulation is always temporary. You know what I'm saying? Like you cannot take anything with you when you go. So it's really just distracting you from living your life to the fullest, you know. And most people that, you know, have experienced excess can confirm that it's very empty anyways, and it's only really appealing when you have never experienced it before. So that being said, Anna says, getting Mr. Miyagi vibes from you. I feel Mr. Miyagi vibes, honestly. Like, I feel like I become more like Mr. Miyagi each day, honestly. Noy says, how do you see solitude as a way to advance yourself when some people see it as something that is seen as lonely? Well, um, Noy, the thing is this is we're gonna transverse out of obtainable reality, and we're going to touch now on spiritual gold. Okay, spiritual gold. Solitude is spiritual gold. Okay, and of course, it can seem like loneliness, right? If you're not, um, you know, there yet. But the reality is, back to what we were saying earlier, back to the advanced course on spirituality. Everything is an illusion. None of this is real. This is like the most advanced. You could look at it like technology, but it's beyond that even. Do you know what I'm saying? Like this is the most advanced thing um, ever. It's a huge illusion. Um, it's actually something which we are all inside. You know what I'm saying? It's like in the same way that we are on Earth, and Earth is inside the atmosphere, right? The atmosphere, right? The atmosphere of Earth is inside the solar system, right? And inside the solar system, or the solar system is inside the inside the galaxy, right? And the galaxy is inside the universe, right? The universe is inside the multiverse. And the multiverse is inside the void, right? So we're all inside the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, the single blood cell floating through your veins right now is not lonely. Do you know what I'm saying? Even if it can't communicate with anything else, it's just floating through your veins. It has no clue what the fuck's going on. It's not alone. It's not separate from you. Right? It's a cell inside your body. It doesn't know that. It's just floating around on its business. It's got a limited cycle before, you know what I'm saying, it's going to die and get pissed out. But when it was alive, it was always part of you. There was no separation until it got discarded, until it was no longer useful to you, the whole. Okay? To you, that cell, or to that cell, you are the universe. To that cell, your plasma is the atmosphere. To that cell, your veins and your arteries, that's the solar system. You know what I'm saying? To that blood cell, your heart, that's the sun. It's just rotating around. You know what I'm saying? To that cell, your body is the universe. It's not separate from you until it stops being part of you. You are the same. Just because you think you're alone doesn't mean that you're alone. Just because you're unaware of the whole, and you can't sense the entire universe, you don't have feelings of the entire universe, doesn't mean that you're not part of the universe. Do you know what I'm saying? So illusion or separation is an illusion. You're not separate from anybody. You, me, everybody else in this room, we are all part of the same thing. Okay, you may or may not be aware of that or be able to sense that, but it doesn't change the reality. Now, if you decide one day that you don't want to be a blood cell anymore, then, you got to learn to sense more of what's around you, right? And at some point, if you can transmute yourself into something more like a brain cell or something, that brain cell is not any more part of the whole system, the whole you, than the blood cell, right? In fact, you would die just as fast if you lost all your blood cells than if you lost all your brain cells. They are interchangeably necessary, right? But the only difference is that the blood cell is just floating through your system, being a blood cell. Whether it wants to or not, it can't do wrong. It just exists and does what it came to do, to circulate oxygen, right? It can't go wrong. It doesn't have to think that much. It doesn't have to know it's a blood cell. It doesn't do anything. The heart's doing all the work. It pumps it around. It comes in contact with the air. The air goes, boom. It's all automatic. That's the average person. They're collecting data. They're going around, their eyes see everything, God sees everything through their eyes, their ears hear things, God hears everything through their ears, their skin feels things, God feels everything through their skin. They can do no wrong. They're a skin cell, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? They feel things, they sense things, they're doing their job. They don't need to be conscious of the whole to do that job. But through spiritual practice, you can become a brain cell. And all of a sudden you're plugged in with all the other brain cells. And you're like, wow, there's so much going on here. Like, fuck. I'm surrounded by other brain cells. They're thinking things. Together we form a cohesive thought. You know what I'm saying? We can move our body forward. We can expand. We can contract. We can fucking create vision, hearing, smelling, tasting. We can have all these sensations now because we're a brain cell. All right? We're interacting with other brain cells and we're doing brain cell things. We're aware of what we are. You know what I'm saying? We're not just a cell floating through the body. Now we can move the hand. Now we can, you know what I'm saying, move the foot. We can move ourselves. We can become fluid, right? Well, that's manifestation, right? You can manifest things, right? And the blood cells, they're not going to get in your way. The blood cells are just going for the ride. They're with you whether they like you or not. They might say, fuck that guy, he's a brain cell. He's got hella hair on his, membranes. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't matter because they're going to still go along for the ride because you as the brain cell become the one moving the body. All right? So loneliness, back to the original question, is an illusion. It's an illusion brought on by lack of awareness. Okay? If you're not aware that you're part of something bigger, if you're not aware that you're the universe, not just a cell by yourself floating around and fucking you don't know what it is, then you'll never get lonely. Because you realize that everything around you is you. You can't be alone. Do you know what I'm saying? In fact, everything that you see and that you touch, that you hear, is a wave that you sensed. And you are giving that feedback back to the body of the whole of the universe, which is you, which is God. You know what I'm saying? You're here giving back the feedback. You're the taste. You're the taste bud. You know what I'm saying? You're the optical cone. You know what I'm saying? You are sensing everything around you. Even the things which are inanimate and not human are still part of you. If you're the only one in the room right now and you're looking at whatever you're looking at, a fucking lamp or your phone or whatever, who else knows that that exists? Who else is there? You're by yourself. You're the only one. You're the only one that knows. Nobody else is looking at it. Nobody else is thinking about it. You're the one doing it. That's you. That's you being part of every single thing that you're looking at. Because without you, it doesn't exist. The world is not round or flat or triangular. It's not a fucking pyramid. It doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't exist unless you're looking at it, unless you're sensing it, unless you're feeling it. You give everything around you meaning. Nothing fucking exists without you. Walk out of the room that you're in by yourself right now. Who is sensing it? Where is it? Who sees it? It's not there anymore. It's gone. So you see, whether or not you are a brain cell or a skin cell or a blood cell or whatever part of this universe that you are, you're an extremely important part of it. You don't need to be aware of it, but if you are aware of it, suddenly you can contact the other brain cells. See what's going on. You can check in on the memories. You can check in on past learning, past knowledge, higher consciousness, so on and so forth. It's all there. You're part of it. You know what I'm saying? You can't not be part of it. You not believing in it, you not knowing about it, you being aware, change nothing other than your perception, other than your awareness. But God's awareness, which is all pervasive of this entire illusion, you know what I'm saying? You are the part that's analyzing the part that you're connected to. Okay? You are taking in your surroundings. So to be lonely is synonymous with being unaware. If you are aware, then of the reality of things, which is that you're part of everything, including God and the universe and all physical reality as we perceive it, then you will never be lonely. And in fact, you will crave solitude. You'll want solitude because you'll realize that it makes you inherently more important to God to be in solitude. And not only does it make you more important to God because you're the only one there perceiving it from a human standpoint, but it also makes it less necessary or completely unnecessary for the matrix, as they call it, whatever, to accommodate to your perception of reality. So if you're in solitude and you know beyond any conceivable doubt that this is all an illusion and that you are part of God perceiving this illusion, then the illusion can become whatever you want it to become. It can do whatever you want it to do. It can be completely and totally malleable because it doesn't have to accommodate other cells, other people's, other perceptions of reality. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're alone in the woods and nobody else is around and, you know, whatever, you fall down a cliff and break your leg and you pray and magically your leg just like heals instantly or something, right? You'll be very happy. You'll probably have trouble telling people that story because people will be like, not believe it. They'll be like, they'll call you a liar. You'll be interfering with their version of reality, right? Doesn't mean your leg is not healed. You'll be happy your leg is healed. But now if someone's standing with you who doesn't believe any of that, whatever, you healing your leg instantly in front of them is going to completely and totally eradicate their concept of reality. It's going to break down reality for them, which goes against the rules of the Matrix, because yes, there are rules of the Matrix, because the one that is operating and creating everything inside the Matrix that is having this experience is not the one that powers the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? This is God's game. This is not your game. You're part of that. You're one of the pieces on the board, you know. But there's still a referee above. It's just that God is so great and so immense. It's the greatest thing which we can personally perceive, which means that anything that is beyond that is beyond our personal ability to describe. Can't be put into words. right? So regardless of our human laws and perceptions and earth and whatever being malleable, there's another whole code, fundamental code underlying all that, which is non-malleable. It's just you have to first understand one to then understand the other, which is way farther than we need to go right now. Sam says, thank you for the rotisserie chicken, Anna. Thank you. Antonio, welcome. Nee says, happy to see you. I've been in other lives with the other account. Well, it's good to have you, Nee. No corn anymore. Possibly. I actually did. So, I don't know, like a month or so ago, I did film something. But I haven't taken time to edit it or anything yet. But I did make a scene, my all-time longest scene. So they will also be looking to put that out somewhere. Raphael says, how does 1 year of absence feel at this point? Well, it felt good. I came up like just a smidge short of the year. I actually didn't get a whole year. I went 11 months and some change, but I'm back on it now. But it was definitely eye-opening in the sense of like, you know, I kind of thought after a year, I thought maybe I would like have lost some type of, you know, control or something of my body. Maybe I'd be too sensitive or anything like that. No. Took it to another level. Just when we thought there was no levels to obtain, just when you thought if you don't use it, you lose it, the results are in and nothing's lost. In fact, it's at an all-time high and not just like a little bit of a jump. we took it to like, you know, someday they will, you know, we're writing the new mythology right now. Have I heard of rainbow gatherings? I've never heard of rainbow gatherings. I have not, actually. I would love to know what that is, though. Antonio says, don't be away from us too long. You have very important ideas and a lot to learn from them. You know, I'm sorry, Antonio. And I'm, you know, the thing is, like, it takes me, it's hard to process things. And honestly, it's just like, it's starting to show like a pattern. You know, I go through, you know, for me, it's very wavy on this like spiritual thing, but like what I've learned is that, when I hit that lull, it just takes solitude in nature. That's all it is. Solitude in nature is like the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like I do believe chanting is like I'll go as far as to say the most effective technique for accessing some altered states. Of course, like body movement and yoga and things, and there's a lot there to unpack, but I would say the technique that has been most effective for me has been chanting. You know, there's also some stuff that I do, like flexing my spine and, you know, what do you call it? It's like stretching the decompressing, a lot of spinal decompressing and like some stuff that I can do where I flex, but it's not something that I could probably teach anyone to do. As far as like the chanting goes, there's like a very specific technique that you can learn by listening to other people and mimicking it and so on and so forth. And so that to me is the direction that I want to point you guys. Thank you so much, by the way, Carolyn, for the donation. It's very, very, very nice of you. Again, you guys, it does make it easier to dedicate this time to you guys when it's not, you know, all on me. Sam, stop it. Sorry, dude. We got 10 more minutes, buddy. But yes, I'm gonna try to stay more. I'm trying to, you guys, it's tough. Also, the other thing too is, you guys, I have been trying to get on here. I didn't try to make it so long, but honestly, Starlink is so frustrating. Like, they will not take my money. They won't turn on my fucking satellite. They won't let me they tell me I got $165 in credits. So I have money in my account. They won't take any additional money on top of that. They say I have no bill, but customer service, the AI customer service, keeps telling me to just pay my bill and then my service will go back on, but it will not allow me to pay my bill. It says I have no bill. I keep telling them that. They keep telling me I'm talking to a human, but it continues to be an AI. So I'm just like, at some point, I've taken it as a consideration that it could just be a sign. Like, the universe doesn't want me having internet when I'm in nature. It's like, if there's no signal, it's like, you just go and be you. Raphael says, how do you feel about experimenting with certain substances that are popular among hippies to learn about this simulation for spiritual learnings? That's a good question. I think that the thing is okay, look, if it came from nature, then it came from God. Okay, there's no two things about that. And they're all useful. Anything from all these things from nature are useful. You know, and there's a word called what is the word? It's there's a word in Buddhism called it means technique, or improper technique, or something like that. Anyways, there are ways to go about things and to gain experiences and so on and so forth, which can help. Doesn't mean it's the best way. You know what I'm saying? It's the kind of thing which I don't really necessarily think somebody should self-medicate or prescribe these type of techniques for that kind of thing, because, like, addiction, for example, is one of the most brutal, slippery slopes and setbacks within the whole spiritual process, right? And commonly we become addicted to things which do, knowingly or unknowingly, give us some type of spiritual insight or sensation or something like that, because that's missing from our lives. Because that's missing, someone that doesn't have spirituality in their life, they smoke weed and it fills this huge void. They didn't know that what the void was, but the void was spirituality to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So they can easily become addicted. Now, the reason why a lot of people, and I'm not suggesting that anyone becomes addicted just so that they can do what I'm about to say, but there's the reason why a lot of people find spiritual awakening, so on and so forth, and things like that. Going back to the neuroscience thing, this is just a theory in the scientific realm. But you know, when you do something a lot, especially to the point that you become addicted, you increase neural connections there, right? So you're increasing connectivity to that area. And when you stop over an extended amount of time, suddenly, though, at some point, those connections can break, right? Well, you've already built up all these connections. Imagine my fingers as like cords, right? These are connections, like they're all, let's say, whatever, dopamine, blah, 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 pathway, all these connections built up because you smoke weed all the time. Suddenly you stop smoking weed and your body's like, hey, well, we don't need all these connections. We just only need like this one. Well, what are these three connections doing now? Either they're just flapping in the wind or whatever. Well, if you're doing something else regularly, they'll reconnect over there. So now you got one connection here to that, and you got three more connections that are open to go somewhere else. Well, what happens when these three connections free up and then all you're doing is meditating all day? What happens then? Well, those things go and plug into something that's helping you meditate. Maybe those three connectors that used to be all up here in your reward-seeking pleasure centers, suddenly three of the four connectors disconnect and plug into your optic thalamus. And now all of a sudden you're like able to have visions and like see things in ultimate clarity, and you have photographic memory and like all this stuff, right? Where did that come from? Well, it's just rearranging inside your brain, you know. So that's not just with drugs and stuff that happens. That can happen with anything. Maybe you're an athlete for a long time. You're a master runner, and you just stop running one day. All of a sudden, all these neurons, all these neural connections that were plugged into your, you know, the part of your brain that coordinates movement, makes you an athletic runner, suddenly those free up. And it's just like gets that, you know what I'm saying? It goes back to like the base, but you know, those connections refine themselves as well. And then all of a sudden, all those other neurons go and replug into other areas of the brain, right? Now, this can be a good thing or a bad thing. If you're doing bad things and you're stopping to do other good things, then you can unplug good stuff and plug it into bad stuff too. Don't get that wrong. Don't get it twisted. But this is the same thing, like, you know, in the Taoism, in the Taoist story about the archer that came, he wanted to, you know, find the Tao, and, you know, he went and met the master and he told him, okay, come back when you forget how to shoot a bow. And the guy leaves and he comes back 10 years later. He's like, okay, I forgot how to shoot the bow. He's like, okay, come on, let's go outside. And he walks outside and the birds just fall from the sky. Doesn't even need a bow and arrow. You know what I'm saying? But it's because it's like you've already built that mastery. You've already built up all those connections. Now you unplug them. And now they can go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So it has to do with not just what you're doing, but how often do you do it? And then what are you doing when you stop doing it? Kind of a thing. You know what I'm saying? Of course, also too, like I said, to know or to believe is a big setback or a big help. And so when it comes to certain substances and things like that too, to see something, if you can tell yourself, hey, this gave me a peek behind the curtain, not, hey, this made me hallucinate, then it could help you. If you could say, okay, I access this using this substance, but I know and believe that I can access this without that substance, then it was a helpful thing. If you think, you know, that you're just hallucinating and and that's how you're going to chop up everything in the future, then it's going to hurt you, right? Or if, you know, if you desensitize certain structures in your body or so on and so forth, that can hurt you. You know, if you, yeah, there's just different medicine for every different person. So this is why I struggle with coming on here and talking on the internet and having all these videos and all these streams that are recorded and so on and so forth, or I'm answering somebody just based upon a question, but I don't really know them personally that well, to the point that like I know their personality, I know their life, I know their situation, I know their strengths, their weaknesses, their vices, their, you know, so on and so forth. It's hard for me to advise somebody on what they need, because what is the medicine, what works for me is not necessarily what's going to work for you. What works for Joe is not necessarily what's going to work for Sally, right? But luckily, you know, and like I understand that, because part of what comes along with this spiritual growth or whatever is empathy, right? But empathy in a way that's like, it's beyond empathy. It's like I'm actually am you. I don't just like see the world through your eyes. I don't just like imagine the world from your perception. Like if I vibe with you, like I can be you for a moment. You know what I'm saying? In which case, by being you for just a moment, it's easier for me to prescribe something to somebody. But I can't do, it's not like I can just be like, oh, hey, what's up, Raphael? Like, I'm going to go be Raphael through the internet. No, like, it's like I need to, like, put eyes on you. I need to, like, vibe you. You know what I'm saying? And so this is kind of why I feel that, like, you know, internet spiritualist is kind of like a dead-end path. I'm sure it can generate money or whatever if you put enough into it, just like anything on the internet does with consistency, but it's not really my goal or what I want to do. Like I personally would like to, if I'm gonna help people spiritually, like I want to be able to give them a prescription for their best medicine, you know, and to do that, like I really need people like come in person. So it's a difficult thing. You know, I'm a solitary person. I don't necessarily like, you know, that doesn't sound like an amazing thing to me to start involving more moving pieces in my life. But, you know, that's kind of like where I am at personally with my own decisions. Like I am recently realized, you know, that the path is not over for me. You know, when I reached the void and I realized and I tapped into the whole, you know, that whole energy, I thought it was the biggest thing that could ever possibly exist. It's still the biggest thing that I've ever seen or touched. But I realize also too now that that is the big, it's the big threshold. I don't know how I know that there's something beyond it, but I just know. I know because I sense it so totally and completely that I realize that I am it. You know, I realize that I am the void. And the fence that, you know, I am it to the point that I know it like I know myself. And the fact that I can sense it so acutely as my own self in some way shows me that there is more, because there has to be something that is beyond me. You know, there has to be something which I cannot sense, just by the nature of this and what it all is and how it works. And so I've more or less renewed my own journey to continue down the path and see what lies beyond the void, if that is even possible. But I don't know. I don't know if that's something that I have to do first and then decide if I want to come back and help people along and whatever, or if that's something that I can do while progressing myself towards that. I really just, I don't know the answer to that question yet. And honestly, I was really thinking about just going back into the industry for a while because I realized that, one of the great gifts of this whole spiritual process that I've been given, which I don't think that I could ever lose, is that nothing really influences me anymore. I'm, regardless of the fact that I can say without any doubt that I enjoy the industry. It's something I enjoy. It doesn't feel like a job. I love sex. I love interacting with women and so on and so forth. I feel that I create something that is ultimately positive for the world, regardless of whatever the industry is as a whole. The industry existing, not regardless of my involvement, tells me that it's not a black and white scenario where I'm either involved or not involved, but rather it's a many shades of gray, and that without me mixing a little lightness into the palette, that the industry itself, which will exist either way, becomes darker without me. But because of that, I did consider going back for a while because, I feel that I've circumnavigated my own personal pitfalls and risks there, and it was something that I enjoyed. But rather, there's some other issues now which have arisen, which I just, pertaining to what I said before with the whole like releasing neural connections and letting them reconnect other places. I am taking a conscious approach to the changes that I'm creating within my body by the things that I'm doing. And I realize that if I'm unplugging a lot of connections, I have to be conscious about where I replug them in. And since I already have a pretty strong, even after nearly a year without sex, the connections seem to be very strong still with my sexual centers. So, it's something I'm kind of holding back on still, because I think that whatever reorganization needs to take place within my mind so that I could stay within a constant state of samadhi, for lack of a better word, that I have to continue being conscious of that, and that most likely, even after a year, I still have the most connections to break there, and I want to do it properly. Anyway, sorry, that was a little bit rambly. Let me go back to the chat. I'm also running a... wait, oh shit, I got a charger right here. What's that? Alright. Oh, and I'm already past my time, but we're doing good to it today. So thank you guys for the donations. And Ellen says, hi, Bruce. Hey, Ellen. Good to see you. I'm happy to know you're doing good. Ben, what's up? Ben's on the mountain. He says, how do we know our specific role in this larger organism? Intuition. I would say intuition, just as like a quick answer to that. I would say intuitively, you know, you just do what you're compelled to do. You know, if you're like if you're just, if existing is enough, then that's what you'll do. But if one day you're going on a walk to the woods or in the mountains or whatever, and suddenly you become illuminated to something more, I would say that's a pretty good sign that your purpose has been upgraded within the organism. If you are meant to be a brain cell for the organism, there will be a complete and total restructuring of energy within inside you, due to the fact that the organism itself will be sending you and giving you those resources to be the best that you can be. None of us go and say, none of us want, none of us want to try to use our feet to carry things. We want to use our hands. Our hands are specialized in carrying things. You know what I'm saying? Well, none of us want to walk on our hands if we have feet. We want to walk on our feet because our feet are specialized in walking. If you are doing what it is that you are good at, and if you enjoy doing what you are good at doing, I would say that is almost as pure of a signal from the Creator itself that you are serving your purpose, because you are specialized, and we are just programmed to do what we do best. And this is the problem with society: is society wants everyone to work for society, and it doesn't give any kind of thought or whatever to thought. In fact, knowledge is been hidden and compartmentalized, so that even the usable, functional part of knowledge within our society is useless to the individual, because they make sure that each person only knows one little part of the truth. And with one part of the truth, you really just have nothing. You have a lie. And society values are the opposite of the Creator's values. Society wants a lot of expendable people which can work towards something that somebody else wants, and that there's a tangible outcome. But God, you know, just like in the same way that we value our own thoughts, or at least we do if we're having good thoughts, it's like one of the most important things. It's not tangible, right? You don't think like, you know, or at least in most cases, you don't think something and then it just happens, you know what I mean? For the average person in the average world, that you have to do something for it to happen, right? And so that's what society focuses on. But then there, you know, you have your meditators out there, you got your yogis, you got your holy men, so on and so forth, and all they do is think. All they do is think so much that one of their main focuses is to learn to not think, right? But you know, that's like the most important part to the organism as its whole. You know what I'm saying? The organism as a whole, you know, it's the same like us. Like, I can scratch my face, I can pull out a hair, whatever. It doesn't like make that big of a difference to myself. It's maybe a moment of pain, a moment of discomfort. I lost a skin cell. Okay, I regrew a skin cell in the same instant that I lost one, right? But your thoughts are what really matter, right? Your thoughts dictate how you really are. Okay, yes, if you're in dire pain all day, your thoughts are probably not going to be that great. Okay, and so if we're in that terrible of health, we need to do something about it physically. We got to do something. We got to make the changes. We got to figure out where the disconnect is. What is the poison? What is causing this? Right? But that's all something cause and effect, something we can change, whatever. But our thoughts don't really need cause and effect or anything else. You could be depressed for no reason. You could be sad for no reason. You can be angry for damn near no reason. It's all within you, right? Same with the opposite. You can be happy, you can be joyful, you can be ecstatic. I know most people don't believe this, but you can be whatever state that can be accessed through any other means can be accessed just because as well. So you can be in a total state of ecstasy, you can be in a total state of bliss, you can be happy, you can be content, you can just be a blank, you can be whatever you want to be if you have if you've mastered your emotions and yourself. Well, this is also the same again within the larger organism, which is God. Is that this world, everything going on inside this world, this is God's mind. If we're having pleasant, happy thoughts about unity and abundance and so on and so forth, then this world becomes better. It becomes about unity. It becomes about abundance. It becomes about all these things which we, as the brain cells of God, are thinking about. But if all we're thinking about is war and violence and theft and fear, we're just living in a fear state. Oh, we're gonna get bombed, or we're gonna, oh, whatever, or oh, we hate these people, we gotta do something to them, or so on and so forth. We're looking at all these negative things. The world becomes more negative because we are the brain cells of God. This is our feeling, this is our state, this becomes our reality, right? And so this is also the same within your own personal power and your own personal ability to manifest and so on and so forth, right? Because in the same way that there's, you know, we each have our devil and our angel on our shoulders, right? We hear these little chirp in our head. And oh, somebody flips us off, cuts us off in traffic. And one voice says, you know, fuck that guy, you should go fucking chase him down and da-da-da-da-da. The other voice that says, oh, he's probably having a bad day, just, you know, why think about it, right? And if you choose to go with the devil, you're angry. You're fucking causing problems. You might end up in a bad situation because you're listening to that. So the wise thing to do is to listen to the angel and just say, oh yeah, he's probably just having a bad day. Oh, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Just let him move on. A couple seconds, the situation's over. And now we're happy again. We're, oh, look at how pretty. Oh, a butterfly, a hummingbird. Oh shit, look, someone's walking their dog. Oh, how cute. Life is good, right? And that's the reality that we create for ourselves because we listen to the angel instead of the devil, right? And so inherently, if we're a wise person, that's the way we operate, right? Well, guess what? God is wise. God's very, very wise. And you, that little voice in your head, is also the voice in God's head because God's experiencing everything through you and everyone else simultaneously, right? So when you understand that, you realize how important it is to have pure and good thoughts because those are the ones that God's going to listen to. Unless they're not there, unless it's just a voice. And we all, as all of God's many, many, many egos, are having negative thoughts, then guess what? God's got nothing else to listen to or nothing else to hear. And then we end up with a wrathful God. You know what I'm saying? We end up with a God that is trying to appease his own mind, which is negative. But if we offer good thoughts, if we are constantly having good thoughts, good vibrations, good things going on in our head, then guess what? God prefers to listen to us because it is us. We are. There's no separation. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, there's going to be some people having negative thoughts. If you're having the good thoughts, who gets the favor? God is wise. God will listen to the wise, good thoughts and will ignore the negative thoughts. So when you don't feel God within your life, when you don't see manifestation happening around you, when you don't feel that you're interconnected with everything, that's just God ignoring you because you're a negative thought for him. Do you know what I'm saying? So the key to changing that is to have positive thoughts. If you are a positive person, no matter how bad everything goes, you know what I'm saying? You get fucking, you know, you're walking down the street and some dude swerves to hit a puddle and splashes all over you. You know what I'm saying? You just laugh and say, shit, I'm fucking wet. Like, look at this. Oh, for the gram, yo. Then, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have favor. You are the favored one because you're the good thought. Okay? So, that's that. Okay, and that's the best way I can say. So how do you know if you're doing the right thing? You'll enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like for a long time, you know, I wasn't a brain cell for a long time. I was like a sperm cell. I was focused on, you know, other things, but I enjoyed it, and that's how I knew I was doing the right thing. Now I go and do it. It doesn't feel the same. I enjoy it myself, but it's not fulfilling. And that's how I know that it's not my path. But I come on here, regardless of the fact that I dread needing technology or touching my phone or having fucking radio waves and shit go through me and whatever. I feel good when I come and talk to you people. Okay, it doesn't matter to me if there's 12 people in here. It doesn't matter to me, but now there's 7. It doesn't matter. I feel good. I know that I'm doing something good. And so, I feel that I'm serving my role. And we can all keep in mind that, realistically, we're all stem cells within God. You know what I'm saying? You can be reassigned or redesignated at any moment. The same person that is the atheist today that will fucking, talk 10 miles of shit to everything that I'm saying can literally wake up tomorrow, have a huge epiphany, see the light, and now he's a holy man. So that's how fluid everything is. There's much less rigidity in this world than people realize. It's really their beliefs which are limiting and which are rigid. And the universe adapts to that. The universe wants everything to make sense to the individual. And so if you are very based and you believe the world is nothing but the extremely limited little smidgen of science that they've allowed, that they've gathered to begin with, and then the even smaller little smidgen of crumb of that science that they've allowed the general population to be aware of, then that's what your reality is going to be. If you redesignate your mind to be completely unlimited, then your life will be unlimited. And that might sound weird coming from me right now, but if you could see my inner world and feel my emotions and feel the sensations inside my body, there would be nothing for you to think about. And you would dedicate. Not you, but you. I'm not talking you. I mean people who have not. I know you are dedicated. Anna says, what's the little crown symbol on top right chat? Right now it says 675 EXP. I don't know. I don't have that on mine. It seems like maybe they're going in more of like a game route with this thing. Sam, do not climb on me. Leon says, personal question, if it's okay, how do you cope with your emotions towards your family, your mother and your sister, while being far away during such a time of loss? Well, illusion, like I said, separation is an illusion. I have all positive feelings towards my family. More, even with the, of course, I've gone through major losses lately. The thing is, like, I don't remorse over death. You know what I mean? Like, this is the hard part, and I have trouble, I wouldn't say I have trouble, but it is difficult to, like, explain this to people who are going through loss with death, especially when the people that they've lost is the same people you've lost. I still am open with the way that I see it, because I feel that overall that it's a beneficial way to look at things. But like for me, I feel like death is more of something to rejoice over than to something to lament. Like I stay here in this world for two reasons. A, I don't know if I can leave. I don't know that it's even possible. And B, because I know that I exist elsewhere simultaneously, and that it doesn't change anything to stop existing here, other than that you stop existing here. So you don't necessarily relocate yourself or anything, or you don't get to enter into like a new field of existence. It's just that you stop existing in one of the fields of existence. The other fields of existence are going now and just keep going. It's not like you just like jump from one spot to the next. It's just that you just basically upload your consciousness and all your memories and all your experiences and stuff back into the greater part of yourself, which has lived many times, you know, and now you get to add these experiences to the culmination of all the experiences of everything that you've ever experienced over multiple lifetimes. You know what I'm saying? So to me, death is not something to lament, especially for somebody who's not released their karma, because they just come back. They're already doing it again, and their true self, nothing ever changed. So I don't really lament death. I do feel bad when other people, you know, not feel bad, but like I understand other people's emotions about it, and that it is difficult to realize that you can't physically reach out to somebody and talk to them. But, you know, when you connect with the part of you that is them as well, you realize that you're just closer than ever before. That the person that stopped being within this limited reality, they finally know you. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth is that nobody really knows you while they're here. Everybody knows certain things about you. They had certain experiences with you. Even if you were both present for that experience, you've seen it through your eyes, they've seen it through their eyes. You know what I'm saying? You go on a trip somewhere with somebody, you're the primary thing that they remember on that trip. You are the one that made that trip memorable. They remember you, right? Well, you're on that trip. It's the opposite for you. You remember them. That trip was based upon them. Your memory of that trip was based upon them. Well, if you look at a lifetime as a trip, which is what it is, it's the same. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the interactions that you had with that person, you remember your interactions with them, meaning they remember their interactions with you, meaning they remembered you. That means that though you were both present for the same experience, 100% of that experience was different for you and for them. Okay? Which means that they don't actually know what happened, and neither do you. Neither one of you truly comprehend the totality of the experience, because you only experienced it through one side, through yourself. But when somebody dies, they no longer have these limitations. They no longer have the limitations of memories. They no longer have the limitations of their own perception. Now suddenly they have experienced it from both sides, and they've experienced it in absolute totality, from everything from the actual perception of the senses to the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions and so on and so forth that were part of that experience from both sides. Do you know what I'm saying? So truly, only once somebody dies do they ever truly get to know you, because they get to gain access to the part of the experiences that happened between you, which was your experiences, not just their own experiences. Furthermore, that they also get access to a greater degree of their own experiences, because they are no longer subject to things like finite memory and so on and so forth. They get the whole thing as a memory. You know what I'm saying? But a memory is a weird way of putting it, because memory frames it into a time thing, but time is a linear concept which exists only here within this in this material realm, right? but it's not actually real. Everything actually happens simultaneously. It's already done. You didn't live 1,000 lives in parallel. You lived 1,000 lives simultaneously. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe it also happened in some type of linear fashion as well, but it's a tough concept to grasp. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's quantum. Everything that could happen did happen. Everything that couldn't have happened didn't happen. Everything, you know what I'm saying? Like, all the things happened, right? It's post-focus. So all the things happen, and then you decide what you want to focus on. You have this big picture. Is that tree in focus, or is my face in focus? Well, the data which we have allows us to focus on any point within this photo. You know what I'm saying? Not even just focus on any point, but to reestablish our perspective and our angle from any point within this thing. It's also 3D, so now we can spin the whole thing and fucking look at it in a completely different spectrum, and infrared and ultraviolet. These are just, I'm being like, just using words that we have that are like help frame the concept. Do you know what I'm saying? But you could reframe that as in like first dimension, second dimension, third dimension, fourth dimension, so on and so forth. Like, are you looking at this through the eyes of a human? Or are you looking at this through the eyes of an ant? Are you looking at this through the eyes of a fish? Are you looking at this through the eyes of a bird? Do you know what I'm saying? All these experiences are going to be completely different. Like, what if you're a fucking a tardigrade? Like, you live in fucking total fucking weirdo land. You know what I mean? It might be a fucking a puddle of water 3 inches big, and you fucking think that you're in Jurassic Park. You know what I'm saying? So everything is perception and dimension and so on and so forth, and this is just so infinitely deep and complex that it's futile to try and comprehend it from our current state. You need to be into a meditative state where you can access that which is more than what we are. And you can do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you connect with the mind of God, you have the abilities of the mind of God. When you return back to human level cognition, you can somewhat remember the things which you realized during that access to the cognition of God, but you no longer have the cognition of God to fully process it. So it's pointless to try and explain it to people, explain it to yourself, comprehend it, so on and so forth, because it's something that it has to be experienced to be understood. Okay, and it's my theory now, because what I've noticed is that each one of these huge spiritual upgrades happen, like, each time that it happens for me, I stay in that state of having access to the universal consciousness longer. And it's my theory, unproven theory, that the final degree of ultimate sustained enlightenment is to remain within that at all times. And so that's what I'm seeking, personally. I don't know if I got off. So hopefully that answered. Thanks again, Caroline. I was just passing that also again. So I want to say again, Rainbow Gathering, Raphael says, are loosely knit communities who congregate outdoors around the world for weeks at a time with the intent of sharing shared ideology of peace, harmony, and freedom. Oh, that's all cool. I would be into rainbow gatherings. That sounds neat. T-Dot says something about Brandy Love. Kirchula says, do you think it's good to be with actors who are older than you? Sometimes. I don't know. I mean, for me personally, like, I'm not a huge fan of plastic surgery, so it's not, the problem within the industry, if that's what you're talking about. This is way off topic. I don't know why I'm even answering this, but is that most women who have made a career off of being on camera have allowed themselves to be convinced that they need plastic surgery to remain within the sphere of public perception, which I personally think is not is a mistake and a fallacy, which most people fall for, but nonetheless, it exists and it happens a lot. And so, for that reason, I guess I don't care for it. In the absence of that, I would say that I prefer it because, of course, practice makes perfect, and there tends to be quite a bit more skill involved when the more experienced are doing their thing. But yeah, there's a trade-off with everything, and you can't win every battle, or can't always have your cake and eat it too, but sometimes you can. And then you eat it well. Cake, that is. Brenda Moore says, "RU Texas, you should definitely go back and spread enlightenment." You know what? I've actually considered that also too. Like, I've considered that, like, it would be interesting if I learned to, like, actually transmit enlightenment, which is possible. It's something called Shaktipat, and I don't know if it would be morally reprehensible or not, but it'd be crazy to, like, just go into the industry and just start enlightening all the porn stars. Turn the porn community into, like, the most enlightened community. Sorry, I still have humor, you guys. So that's me humoring. CM says, that's almost impossible for me to not think. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, see, this is the most advanced form of meditation. The beginner form of meditation, I'm just going to throw it out there for those who really need it. Observe. Just fucking observe everything. Eyes opened, eye closed, whatever. However you want to do it. Just observe. If something goes into your head, that's not your thought. You're just watching it. It's just moving across the screen. It's just a fucking marquee. You know what I'm saying? Little chirps. Marquee. It's just going across. Just fucking, okay. Oh, that was weird. All right, that was weird. What? Okay. And then, here's the trick. You're reading the marquee of your mind. The little thoughts passing. And then, as soon as you see a pause for 1 second, and nothing comes in your mind, just for 1 second, think to yourself, what am I going to think next? Try to predict it. Try to predict your next thought after you've been observing them. And what you may find is that at the moment when you try to predict what's coming next, they stop. That you will not be able to predict what you're going to think next. And then all of a sudden it starts to make sense, and you're like, oh, this thing is just fucking glitching. It's just fucking going off. It's static. These aren't my thoughts. These aren't even thoughts at all. This is just fucking feedback. This is like, I'm halfway on to a radio station, but I'm not all the way on. I'm getting like multiple stations. And you're like, this is some bullshit. Well, once you realize it's some bullshit, and you just start fucking with the knob a little bit. Just keep fucking with it. Do it every day. At first, maybe it'll seem boring, whatever, you sit for an hour. After a while, next thing you know, you'll be sitting for 3 hours, and you'll be like, fuck, where'd the time go? Well, by the time you're to the point where you can just blink the whole day away, you were just sitting there all day, and you're like, damn, I don't know where that went. Now you're making really serious progress. And when you get to that stage, just basically you can hold on to it. And it's always less is more at that stage. Once you can wipe your mind and just let the day pass without anything happening, then randomly big things will start happening. You just let it happen. Don't think you're going crazy. Be pure about your diet, fast, whatever. But as soon as you're just got that spot where you can just sit doing nothing. I'm not even talking about meditation. I mean just literally sitting and doing nothing without wanting to do anything else. Without thinking about anything else, without feeling bored. Once you're there, you're there. You can just fucking autopilot from there. Just purify, 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 purify. And the whole thing doesn't have to be complicated. Like, you can go the religious route and be devout and, you know, read a fucking bazillion pages of a book and try to understand them and never succeed until after the thing happens, which makes you realize that you never had to read the book to begin with, that everything in the book was already pre-programmed into you, that all you had to do was have the realization of who and what you really are. You can take that route. That's the long route. You can take the yoga route, where you gotta do all kinds of like modulating to your physical body and your mind and so on and so forth, and one step at a time you break down these barriers or whatever. Or you could take the Taoist route, which is the easiest and the fastest route, but it requires the absolute most sacrifice, where you fucking trash everything. You fucking factory reset every relationship within your field of influence, all your, you know, everything. Fast and eat as possible, you know what I'm saying? And you just, boom, just go blank. And if you can if you can get to that point where you can just sit and do nothing for a day without regretting it or feeling any weird shit about it, that's all you gotta do. You just drop everything. If you can get to that state, boom, just wipe everything free, and you will grow so fast that whatever, a year from that day, you go back and do whatever you want. You want to go back to work, you want to go whatever, you want to start a company, you want to fucking do something new, whatever you want to do, you can do that. Because you will mentally be at such a more advanced place that you can do whatever you want. But the chances are that you will never want to do anything again. So that's my forewarning there. I'm getting way past my thing. Okay, so I'm going to speed through the chat now. CM Works Retail, Angel Strong, Public has no idea. That's good. Do you find it easier to believe in God without putting them in a box? I tried to organize religion and I couldn't do it. It was suffocating, but I do believe in a higher power. Look, I'm not going to even use my own words. I'm going to use a quote from someone else. I don't know who did this quote, but it's the perfect quote. Organized religion was created to protect the public from having a direct experience with God. Okay? Religion, no organized religion which has survived to today, was created to connect you with God in the most rapid way possible. None of them. They were all created and allowed to persist, most importantly, allowed to persist by the highest powers that be within this world. When I say highest powers that be within this world, I mean human powers, not godly powers. The highest human powers within this world allowed certain religions to persist because they don't work in totality. And not to say that they don't work in all, but they want certain activations and not other activations. Okay? So here's the thing is, like, if you activate certain centers and certain things in certain ways, it's going to change your personality in certain ways. One of those ways in which one of those activations changes your personality is that you no longer fear death. A person who does not fear death makes a very good soldier. Okay? And so a lot of religions, organized ones, are seeking that, but not total enlightenment. They want someone to stop fearing death so that they can be a good soldier. However, they do not want them to experience unconditional love, because the person that experiences cosmic love will never be violent. Raphael says, how to deal with people looking at you like you're a psychopath when you're not sad when someone dies. With compassion. Just compassion. Just they can't imagine not being in pain. You know, have compassion that they just don't know what you know. And yeah, and just have compassion for the fact that you're just a mirror that they're not ready to look into. You know. Welcome back, Maya. Maya's come a long way. She said she couldn't even meditate for a minute before, and now she can do it with open eyes, and that is truly amazing. Once you get to the open eyes level, it is so fun. And this is another, I'll just leave off since we did make it to the bottom of the chat and we're on the open, we just talked about, Maya brought up open eye meditation. Do a little research. Look up the 3 unmovables. Okay, that's your extracurricular homework for today. The 3 unmovables pertaining to meditation. All right, I'm gonna go, you guys. I hope that was a good stream. Thank you all for who donated. Thank you everyone who wanted to donate but could not. And I'm gonna try to come next Sunday. No guarantees, but we'll see what happens. All right. Love you guys. Peace. Sam, stop it, dude.